Rain slid down the glass towers of Manhattan like the city was trying to wash away its sins. Neon lights bled into puddles, and thunder cracked above the skyline. Ethan Miller tightened his coat as he stepped out of the car, glancing once more at the rooftop bar where his boss, Claire Donovan, had just disappeared hours ago with her clients. He wasn't supposed to wait this long, but something in his gut told him not to leave. When the call came, it wasn't her voice. It was a slurred scream through the phone, drowned in chaos. By the time he found her, the party had spilled into the street. Claire, the woman who ran an empire by day, was now barely standing cornered by two men laughing too loud, too close. Ethan didn't think. He just moved. One punch. One grab. One broken nose. Then silence, only the rain. When he looked down, Claire's eyes met his. Drunk, yes, but clear enough to hold his stare. "You're safe now," he said quietly, and for reasons neither of them could explain, those words would change everything. The sound of a coffee maker filled the quiet apartment. Ethan leaned against the kitchen counter, watching the steam curl into the air. His knuckles still ached from the night before. He flexed his hand absent-mindedly, remembering the feel of someone's jaw giving way under his fist, a reminder that instincts never truly fade, no matter how long you've buried them. He wasn't supposed to fight. Not anymore. Not since Lily was born. From the bedroom, a soft voice carried, "Daddy?" Ethan turned, and the exhaustion in his face softened. "Morning, sweetheart." Lily, 6 years old, with tangled hair and mismatched pajamas, shuffled out holding her stuffed fox. "You look hurt." He smiled. "Just a scratch." But he couldn't shake the memory, Claire's trembling hand gripping his sleeve, her perfume laced with whiskey and rain, her whisper, "Don't tell anyone." He'd driven her home, tucked her onto the couch, left a glass of water and painkillers on the table. She hadn't let go of his hand until she fell asleep. Now, as the sun rose over the city, Ethan knew what kind of trouble he'd just walked into, because his boss, his CEO, wasn't the type to forget. By 9 a.m., the Donovan Group's main tower buzzed with morning energy. Assistants scurried through glass corridors. Heels clicked like a metronome of corporate precision. Ethan entered through the side entrance, nodding to the security guard. He'd rehearsed what to say if anyone asked about last night. "Miss Donovan called a car. I dropped her home. That's it. Except Claire Donovan never missed a morning meeting. Yet today, her office lights were off. "Morning, Ethan." He turned. It was her assistant, Ava, balancing 2 tablets and a latte. "She's in early," Ava whispered conspiratorially. "Locked in since 7. Didn't even take her coffee." "You know how that means trouble." Ethan swallowed. Right. He was halfway down the hallway when the intercom buzzed. Ethan Miller, CEO's office. Now, inside, the air felt different, colder. Claire stood by the window, back turned, wearing a charcoal suit that matched the morning fog. Her hair was perfectly tied, her expression unreadable, but when she turned, her eyes met his, and for a moment, the boardroom queen vanished, replaced by the woman he'd carried out of the rain. "Close the door," she said. He closed the door, and the latch sounded louder than it should have, like the room inhaled and held its breath. Claire didn't invite him to sit. She didn't need to. Ethan remained standing, posture neutral, eyes steady. The city sprawled below behind her steel rivers, endless glass. "You hit him," she said without preamble. "I did. You broke his nose. He was grabbing you. A beat. And you carried me to my couch." "Yes." She walked to the desk and placed both hands on the edge, knuckles pale. "I remember everything." There it was. No dodge. No polite erasure of mess. He'd seen plenty of people in power rewrite their nights with a morning shrug. Claire Donovan looked directly at the unflattering truth and didn't blink. "Thank you," she said, quieter now. "And I'm sorry." "For what?" "For the risk I put you in." She glanced toward the city. "You're my employee. You shouldn't be involved in my mistakes." "I didn't do it because of your title," he said. "I did it because you were in danger." Her mouth twitched. not a smile, exactly, more like a fault line forming. "I need your discretion." "You have it." Her eyes lifted and held his. "You already did. When you tucked the blanket around me." He said nothing. He remembered the faint tremor in her breathing, the way she'd flinched at the sound of thunder and then relaxed when he turned off the lamp. "I also need your help," she said finally. "There will be complications." He almost laughed. "There already are." "Then let's try to control the ones we can." She stepped around the desk and stood closer than necessary. "Not in flirtation, but in trust. You'll drive me to the board review this afternoon. You'll stay nearby. And," she paused, "if anyone asks about last night, we say I left early with my assistant. We don't mention the alley. Or the men." Ethan inclined his head. "Understood." She nodded, then softened barely. "How's your hand?" He flexed his knuckles. "Sore. Have Ava get you ice." Claire's voice lowered. "And Ethan?" "Yes. You said, 'You're safe now.' No one said that to me in a long time. Don't say it unless you intend to mean it." He met her gaze. "I meant it. I, 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 I." Something like relief flickered across her face and disappeared. She straightened. "Good. We have a company to run." He was halfway to the door when she added, "And Ethan, thank you for not pretending." Either. He left with his pulse jumping in his throat. By noon, whispers hissed along the hallway like steam from an old pipe. The Donovan Group's chat rooms were discreet. Employees practiced in euphemism, but corporate theater couldn't contain curiosity. Ava caught up with him near the elevator. Sharp bob, bright eyes, moving a mile a minute. "Hey, Miss Donovan wants the black sedan at 1. I'll send the deck for the review to the iPad. Don't let her forget slide 18. She hates the font they used for the market share graph." "Ava," he said mildly, "do you breathe? Sometimes I outsource it." She lowered her voice. "And, heads up. Someone on the media team says a freelance gossip site is sniffing around about last night's cocktail event. Nothing concrete. Just static." "Static can still burn," Ethan said. "Tell me about it." She exhaled. "You good? You look like you lost a fight with a brick wall." He shrugged. "Wall lost. Okay, Batman." She glanced toward Claire's door. "Look, you didn't hear it from me, but Miss Donovan's ex is in town." Ethan stilled. "Ex?" Ava grimaced. "Name's Marcus Hale. Venture guy turned. Angel investor turned. Whatever. They dated briefly last year. He was too into the cameras. She ended it. He's been trying to get back into her orbit ever since. And he's petty. Is he dangerous? Only to reputations, which, in this world, is a kind of weapon." She squeezed his forearm. "Keep her out of side doors and camera pits today, okay?" "I always do." She leaned in, words a murmur. "And Ethan? I've worked for her 3 years. She doesn't let people see her weak. The fact that she called you this morning, just be careful. With her. And yourself. She dust. And End of 2-4. I know. Great. Now I have 4 meetings to crash and 1 latte to regret." Ava zipped away. Ethan checked his watch. The afternoon was a battlefield disguised as a boardroom. And he'd be at silent infantry. The board review began at 1:40. A glass-walled arena, 12 directors who'd replaced weather with quarterly forecasts. Ethan waited by the far wall, an invisible shadow. Claire entered with her binder, unflinching. She didn't look at him. Didn't need to. They were aligned by necessity. A compass needle steady over a secret. She presented clear, precise, surgical. The more she sliced, the quieter the room grew. These were sharks, yes, but they respected blood that wasn't theirs. Midway through, a director named Rowan asked about the hospitality portfolio. "There's a rumor our Boston partner wants out," he said, riffing on the word rumor, like it tasted good. Claire's jaw moved once, then stilled. We anticipate their concerns. We've countered with restructuring. You'll find the memo in Appendix D. And the press piece last night? Rowan's tone was careful now, a surgeon pretending to ask about weather while holding a scalpel. The press piece last night, Claire said evenly, was a fundraiser attended by several firms. I left early. Of course, Rowan said, eager to move on. But the word early had been stamped onto the table like a fingerprint. The review ended without blood. That alone was a miracle. Outside the boardroom, Claire walked briskly, Ethan falling into step. Ava appeared, tablet in hand, face tense. Okay, so, good news. Our competitors still think we're bulletproof. Bad news. A reporter named Jax Ransom just posted a blind item. Ice Queen CEO melts in Midtown. Mystery Man plays hero. No names. Yet. Ethan's stomach tightened. Claire took the tablet, read, and returned it. Blind items thrive on oxygen, she said. We won't supply it. Ava nodded, then flicked her gaze to Ethan. But, if someone else supplies names, we could be in trouble. Who would? Ethan asked. Claire's eyes flicked downward just once, to his bruised knuckles. Anyone who stands to gain. Ava swiped her screen. Also, Marcus Hale asked to drop by tonight. No, Claire said. Shocking verdict, Ava muttered. I'll draft a polite go-away. Draft it rude, Claire said, then reconsidered. On second thought, draft nothing. Silence is ruder. Ava's grin was a flash of sunlight. You got it. They moved toward the elevator. The doors slid open with a hush. Ethan guided Claire inside and took his usual place beside her. Near, but not touching. You're quiet, she said when the doors closed. I'm thinking, he said, about how to handle a man who uses press as a weapon. Handle, her eyebrow lifted. Not physically, he said, though the impulse lived deep and steady. Strategically, she considered him, something like approval warming her gaze. You were an engineer before you drove for me. I read your file. He paused. You read my file. Of course I did. Her voice was matter-of-fact. You won't say it. So I will. You're overqualified for this job. It's the job I have, he said. For now. The elevator opened into the garage, concrete and echo. He walked her to the black sedan, opened the rear door. When she settled in, she said, without looking up, Ethan, does your daughter like museums? He blinked. She loves them. Then take her to the Children's Museum on Saturday. Charge it to me. That's not necessary. Indulge me, she said. Consider it. Restitution for a night. I'd rather erase but won't. He hesitated. Thank you, he said. I'll pay you back. She looked at him then, something fierce and stubborn in her eyes. Don't. He closed the door before she could see the turmoil on his face. That evening, the apartment smelled like pasta sauce and crayons. Lily sat cross-legged on the rug, drawing lightning bolts across a fox in a superhero cape. What's his name? Ethan asked, setting a bowl of spaghetti in front of her. Lightning, she said solemnly. He saves people. Does he? Ethan said, clearing his throat. Who did he save today? His friend who forgot her umbrella. Lily twirled noodles. She said thank you and gave him a sticker star. Nice friend. Lightning says friends don't need stars, Lily said, mouth full. They need pizza. Ethan laughed, a low sound that surprised him. He felt the day lift off his shoulders piece by piece, like armor being unbuckled. He carried his bowl to the couch and turned on the news with the volume low. No mention of Claire. The blind item had grown comments like Thorne's anonymous people with a god's confidence and zero facts. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He debated, then answered. Ethan Miller? A male voice. Smooth, expensive. Pleased. Yes. Marcus Hale. Ethan glanced toward Lily, who was lining up her crayons. "How did you get this number?" "Relax," Marcus said, as if the word were a leash. "I asked around." "For what?" "For the man who drove Claire home last night." Ethan's back tightened. "You've been reading gossip." "I've been correcting it," Marcus said lightly. "Look, I'm concerned. Claire isn't socially cautious. She thinks she can outrun mess by working harder. It's not how the game works. She needs a narrative. I can provide one. She doesn't need your help. Everyone needs my help, Mr. Miller. Especially when they don't know it." A pause. "Tell you what, there's a launch party Friday for a startup I'm backing. Big names, cameras. I'll arrange an arrival for Claire that redirects attention. You'll bring her." "I don't arrange my boss's dates," Ethan said flatly. "Oh, I know what you arrange." Marcus's tone cooled. "You arrange being near. You arrange looking noble. It's cute." Ethan stared at the TV, seeing nothing. "Call this number again, and I'll log it with security." Marcus laughed softly. "Tell Claire I'm thinking of her. Tell her the internet is afire, and I'm standing with a hose." He hung up. Ethan set the phone down carefully. He breathed once, twice. He turned the volume up on the cartoon. Lily had switched to a fox racing a storm, and listened to his daughter narrate Lightning's victory until his hand stopped shaking. 2 days passed with the intensity of a sprint. Claire moved through meetings like a blade, and Ethan shadowed her steps. The blind item multiplied, as attention does when fed. A new blog suggested the mystery man was on the company's payroll. Someone posted a blurry photo, a frame of Ethan's shoulders as he helped Claire into a car, rain blurring the edges. Comments erupted. Ava met Ethan in the lobby on Thursday afternoon, face pinched. "Okay," she said. "We need to talk about optics." "I'm not a prop," he said. "I know. You're a person who's loyal and protective and that reads on camera. Which is both great and terrible." She sighed. "We need to tweak the routine. More side exits. Fewer lobbies." He nodded. "Done. Also, Miss Donovan wants to visit the 8th Street site tonight. Contractors screwed up the frontage. She's in a mood." "Noted." Ava tilted her head. "You know, moods are the smoke alarm for people like her. When it beeps, she's burning inside." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. He could see the flame line beneath Claire's professionalism, like a gas leak you could smell, but not see. The site smelled like wet plywood and ambition. Streetlights cast scaffolding into rib cages against the dark, orange cones like calla lilies on the broken pavement. Claire stepped from the car without waiting. A black coat belted tight, eyes scanning, taking inventory like a general. The foreman, a burly man with a nervous cough, jogged over. "Miss Donovan, we were just patching over mistakes," she said, chin lifting. "Show me." They trailed the foreman through a maze of 2x4s and tarps. Ethan hung back, gaze sweeping, measuring exits, shadows, watchers. A camera crew might sniff a midnight visit. Marcus might accidentally drop by. Danger rarely announces itself. It waits. Claire stopped outside the frontage and stared. The design rendering taped to the wall, a clean modern line, had become a half-built mouth. The curve was wrong, the geometry sloppy. "This is not what we approved," Claire said, tone icier than the air. The foreman stammered. "Supply delays, ma'am." You thought you could substitute a design decision with an excuse," she said. "You can't." He deflated. "We'll tear it down. You'll fix it." She knelt, traced the line with a gloved finger. "You'll reform the curve using prefabricated segments we'll supply from our Brooklyn shop. You'll call Luis. He owes me a favor." She looked up, catching the foreman's astonishment. "This isn't my first construction site." He nodded rapidly. "Yes, ma'am." She stood. Ethan was watching. Her cheeks were flushed from the cold, hair escaping its knot. She looked. He surprised himself with the word alive. He approached, voice low. "It's good. Seeing you like this." "Like what?" "Hands on. Owning it. He gestured to the arch. There's nothing abstract about fixing something with your hands. A humor ghosted her mouth. Spoken like an engineer. He huffed. Once upon a time. She tilted her head. Why'd you stop? His jaw worked, the old ache rising. Life reroutes. Lily. Yes. Claire's gaze softened, as if the name itself was a password that opened a door. How old is she again? 6. My favorite age. Claire looked briefly toward the city, as if checking the clock of the skyline. 6 is kinetic. It's the age when they know enough to ask dangerous questions, and not enough to fear the answers. She asked me today why lightning doesn't get tired, Ethan said. I told her maybe it does. Maybe that's what thunder is. Lightning, catching its breath. Claire smiled, actually smiled, no edges. It changed her face from marble to something human. That sounds like a story she'll remember. They started back toward the car. Ethan felt a tickle at the back of his neck, the sixth sense that had saved him from more than one bad alley in his 20s. He glanced left, a figure detached from the scaffolding shadow, moving with the lazy confidence of someone who believed in his own invincibility. Marcus Hale. Claire, Marcus said, spreading his arms, as if the construction site were a ballroom and he were host. You do know how to pick a midnight stage. Claire's jaw hardened. You were told to leave me alone. Was I? He looked wounded. I must have missed it. His eyes flicked to Ethan, lingering in a way meant to provoke. And this is the famous Good Samaritan. I would shake your hand, but I believe it has an appointment with an ice pack. Ethan stepped half a pace forward, a quiet line of protection. You're trespassing. Marcus laughed. We're all trespassing on someone's time. He tucked his hands into his coat pockets, rocked on his heels. Look. Claire. I came to help. The narrative is spinning. Let me take you to that launch tomorrow. Get a photo with someone innocuous. Make this go away. You think a photo can erase a night? Claire asked mildly. It can bury it under 5 more. Marcus said. It's not romance, darling. It's arithmetic. Don't call me darling. Marcus's eyes hardened. You forget who I am. No, Claire said, calm as a scalpel. I remember exactly who you are. That's why this conversation is over. He breathed through his nose, a bull deciding whether to charge. You're going to regret making me your enemy. I've regretted worse. Claire turned to Ethan. We're done here. Ethan opened the car door. Marcus's smile returned, cold. See you around, Good Samaritan. He lifted his phone, thumb hovering like a trigger. The internet loves a triangle. Ethan paused. It loves a villain more. Marcus's gaze flicked once to Ethan's fist, then to Claire's face as the door closed. He slid his phone back into his pocket and watched the sedan pull away. Headlights swallowing the street. He smiled to himself in the reflection of the scaffolding's plastic sheeting, adjusting his coat like a wolf straightening a tie. Friday morning arrived with sharp sunlight and headlines like knives hidden under napkins. The blind item had acquired names by breakfast. A tipster claims the CEO in last night's mystery is Claire Donovan of Donovan Group. A blurred image paired with it Ethan's outline. Unmistakable to those who knew him, anonymous to the rest. Ava burst into Claire's office with her tablet. We've crossed the threshold, she announced. It's officially a thing. We do not feed it, Claire said, eyes on her laptop. I know. But we also don't walk blind into traffic. Ava scrubbed a hand over her face. Okay, options. 1. Ignoring. 2. A vague statement about focusing on work. 3. A preemptive lawsuit. No, Claire said, a razor in the single syllable. We are not playing offense with lawyers over gossip. Not unless someone prints a lie that damages the company. Ava winced. Right now, they're speculating. It's like fog. Every shape they describe might be a lamppost or a monster. Fog burns off, Claire said. Eventually, Ava chewed her lip. Marcus texted. He's been seen at the Sable rooftop this morning taking calls with 2 reporters. One of them is Jack's. Claire's hands paused over the keys. Of course he was. Ava set the tablet down gently. I don't say this lightly, but maybe consider not going to the launch tonight. I'm not going, Claire said. Ava blinked. You're not? Marcus doesn't get to decide the map of my evenings. Claire looked up. Cancel everything after 6. I'm taking Lily Miller to the Children's Museum. Ava's grin exploded. I love that. Claire hesitated. I haven't asked Ethan yet. Ava practically vibrated. He will say yes. He will try to say no first, because manners, but he will say yes, and he will bring snacks and hand wipes and a surprising knowledge of dinosaur bones. Set it up, Claire said, deadpan. If we're going to be accused of something, we might as well do something worth remembering. Ava saluted and zipped out. Claire exhaled. The office settled around her like a stage set between acts. She glanced toward the window. The skyline pretended to be stable. She knew better. Stability was a trick you performed each morning, a choice you repeated until it stuck. Her phone buzzed. A number she recognized, with a distaste her body remembered. Marcus. She let it ring. Then she blocked the number. She didn't pretend to forget what he'd been. She chose not to repeat it. Ethan got the text from Ava at noon. Miss D wants to take Lily to the Children's Museum at 6 if you're okay with it. Low-key. Might treat her words. He read it twice. He looked at Lily's drawing lightning with a tiny crown now. He typed. Deleted. Typed again. Are you sure? The reply came in seconds. She is. She also told me not to hover, so I cannot chaperone. But I will suffer nobly. He smiled, despite himself. Then, slowly, he typed, okay. And after a moment, thank you. Then, before he could second guess, he added, we'll meet at the museum door at 6:10. Lily likes to race the stairs. Ava's response was a string of celebratory emojis and a final, she'll be there. He put the phone down and realized his hands were shaking again, not from fear, not from anger, from the fragile, terrifying joy of letting someone into the 2-person world he'd built like a fortress. Just him and Lily, their routines stacked like bricks. He told Lily at pickup. Her eyes widened, and then she jumped like the floor had turned to trampoline. Miss Claire is coming? Daddy. We need snacks. And a flower. A flower? For her hair. Grown-ups wear flowers when they feel brave. He swallowed. Okay, he said. We'll get a flower. Friday at 6. The museum glowed warm against the cold, a hive of laughter and small footsteps. Ethan lifted Lily's jacket hood and straightened the tiny paper crown she'd insisted Lightning would wear if he attended. Lightning, alas, was an indoor fox and had to remain stuffed, but the crown could go everywhere. Claire arrived at 6:10 exactly, like a promise. She wore a navy coat and a wool scarf and a careful expression that cracked when Lily ran toward her with gravity-defying enthusiasm. Miss Claire. Lily skidded to a stop, held up a daisy plucked from a grocery bouquet. For you. Claire blinked. For me? You were brave, Lily said with the solemn authority of 6. Daddy says brave people get flowers. Ethan looked at his shoes, because he suddenly didn't trust his face. Claire took the daisy as if it were a medal. Thank you, Lily. Would you like to show me your favorite thing in here? Lily grabbed her hand, like that question contained all the power in the world. Yes. The lightning room. Perfect, Claire said. And for a heartbeat, her gaze touched Ethan's soft. Surprised. Honored. They moved through exhibits in a slow unfurling. Lily demonstrated the wind tunnel, shrieking as scarves flew. Claire let the scarves beat her cheeks and laughed like she hadn't practiced in too long. They built a magnetic tower and knocked it down on purpose. They crawled through a low maze and popped up at the same moment, startled into eye contact in the cramped circle, and then, absurdly, into laughter. In the lightning room, a sphere of plasma arced violet veins under glass. Lily pressed her fingers to it and squealed when the light followed her touch. I'm making lightning. Lightning follows you because you're the most conductive, Ethan said. What does that mean? Lily asked. It means the universe likes your ideas, Claire offered. Lily rolled with that explanation like it was science. Then I'm going to tell the storm to be nice to you. Thank you, Claire said, and her voice went husky as if someone had loosened a tight knot in her throat. They wound down in the quiet corner where a ceiling projector made constellations bloom on the walls. Lily lay back on a beanbag, eyes wide, mouth parted in awe. That one's a fox, she whispered, pointing at a cluster of blue points. Lightning's cousin. Ethan listened to the silence between their breaths and thought, this is what safety sounds like. He snuck a glance at Claire. In the pale light, she seemed less CEO, more human geometry angles softened by wonder. She looked at Lily, like a person remembering the world could be simple. Then she looked at him, and something unspoken stood up and walked between them until it felt like they were sharing the same oxygen. Claire's phone buzzed. She ignored it. It buzzed again, stubborn. She sighed and checked it, with the guilt of a student peeking at a forbidden note. Her face changed. Ethan sat up. What is it? She held out the screen. A notification from a news app. Breaking. Donovan Group CEO, embroiled in late-night altercation. Source provides new details. Below, a photo smashed like a symbol. Claire's profile stepping into a car, and beside her, his own mouth half open in speech, his hand on the door, his posture a shelter. The headline, Ice Queen and Her Shield. Lily sat up, alarmed by the change in weather she could always feel in her father. Daddy? It's okay, he said automatically. But the word tasted like a lie. Claire's jaw tightened. We're leaving. She stood then, softer to Lily. We can come back and find Lightning's cousin. Another night. Lily nodded bravely, stuffing her fox crown into her pocket. They walked quickly to the exit. Outside, the air had gone knife cold. A camera flash popped across the street. A man with a beanie raised his phone. Claire! Over here! Ethan stepped forward, body between Claire and the lens, voice calm. Back off. Are you too? The man began. Back off, Ethan repeated without raising his volume. Sometimes gentleness is the most frightening thing a man can do when he means it. The man hesitated, then obeyed. He wasn't paid enough to pick this fight. He wasn't Marcus. Ava's name lit Ethan's phone. He answered. We saw it, he said. Okay, she said, words rushing. Damage control mode. They've got a photo, but no hard copy of the altercation. The source claims to be a guest at the bar. But the timeline is off. We can push back on factual grounds. Also, I sent security to your building, Claire, and the garage. Ethan, do not go home by the front. Use the back staircase. I'll ping you a route. Copy, Ethan said. Claire looked pale in the streetlight. We should get Lily out of here. My car's 3 blocks, Ethan said. Side streets are quieter. They moved, a formation. Ethan ahead, scanning. Claire beside Lily, one hand on the little girl's shoulder. The city's appetite for spectacle was a living thing. He could feel it sniffing their footsteps. At the third corner, a figure leaned off the lamppost and clapped slowly. Marcus. Well, he said conversationally. If it isn't my favorite trio. Lily studied him with grave suspicion. You're not nice, he chuckled. Children are honest. It's almost charming. Ethan's voice was granite. Walk away. Marcus tilted his head. From an opportunity this rich? Why would I? He flicked his cigarette toward the gutter. The press is hungry. They need a line to follow. Ethan Miller. Single father. Employee. He spread his hands. It writes itself. Leave my people out of your mouth, Ethan said. Marcus smiled, and something brittle gleamed in it. You don't get to define the story. Claire stepped forward, and the air shifted. She was a CEO again, chin lifted, gaze trained, pulse a metronome. I do, she said. I define my story. You're a footnote I crossed out. He blinked, surprised by the specific hurt of it. "You always were good with a pen. And with a knife," she said softly. "Try me." A car horn interrupted like a referee. Ava's voice crackled from Ethan's phone. "Left, left. Now." He moved. They followed. Marcus swore and didn't chase. Some part of him recognized he had lost this round. But not the war he believed existed. They reached the car breathless. Lily climbed in with the practiced clamber of a small person who trusted the adults around her to move the world. Ethan buckled her in with hands that betrayed a tremor. Claire slid into the back beside Lily. Ethan got behind the wheel and exhaled slowly as he merged into traffic. "Daddy?" Lily whispered. "Yes, Bug. Is Miss Claire okay?" He glanced in the mirror. Claire met his eyes. She nodded once, a queen acknowledging a knight. "Miss Claire will be okay." Lily considered, then patted Claire's knee. "I told the storm to be nice." Claire swallowed. "Thank you," she said, and her voice cracked on the last word. He dropped Claire at her building with security flanking the entrance like parentheses. She thanked them quietly and lingered by the open door. "Will you text me when you and Lily are home?" she asked, something like uncertainty edging her confidence. "I will," he said. She nodded, then leaned across the seat to Lily. "Thank you for sharing your favorite stars with me." Lily beamed. "We didn't even get to the dinosaur bones." "Next time," Claire said. "Promise." Claire's throat worked. "Promise." Ethan watched her walk through the marble lobby alone, small against the frame of wealth. Brave in a way people who had never been truly hurt never understood. He drove home, took the back route like Ava instructed, parked 2 blocks away, and carried Lily the last 100 yards asleep on his shoulder, her breath soft against his neck, anchor, and mercy. He texted Claire, "Home. Thank you." He meant the museum. He meant the way she looked at Lily. He meant the daisy still tucked into her coat. Her reply came 3 minutes later. "Thank you. For the lightning." He didn't sleep much. He lay awake, listening to the city murmur. He thought of Marcus's smile. He thought of his own fist. He thought of the look in Claire's eyes when Lily handed her a flower. A woman who wanted to believe the storm could be told to be nice and was almost convinced. At 2 a.m., his phone buzzed. "Ava. We found the source. The timeline is garbage. Also, legal says if the site prints the photo with the libelous text, we have grounds. We're drafting a statement. No romance, no misconduct. CEO was escorted by security during a standard exit. We mention nothing about the alley. Thoughts?" Ethan typed. "If you say, escorted by security, they'll ask, where's the security? Photo shows me. Ava, we call you a member of Miss Donovan's staff. That's true." Ethan stared at it. Staff. True. Both words were correct, and both were wrong. He typed, "Do it." He put the phone face down and watched the dark like it might answer. He wanted to say, "I am more than staff." But that wasn't a sentence that could exist in daylight without consequences. He wanted to say, "I am a man who would carry you again, who would stand between you and that camera forever." He wanted to say nothing and do everything. At dawn, he made pancakes shaped like comets because Lily requested it, and because ritual was a scaffold when the world shook. The statement went live at 9. It was bland by design, a sentence written so precisely it cut nothing. The site updated its post, replacing insinuation with a vague aside about professional boundaries. The comments turned to gnawing other bones. The internet was a hydra. Feed it in one head and it would snack elsewhere. At 10, Claire called him into her office. She stood at the window again. But now her posture was unclenched, like she'd slept 3 hours and decided it was enough. "It will blow over," she said. "It will blow somewhere," he said. Her mouth twitched. Accurate. He shifted, resisting the urge to overstep. "Claire." She looked at him. A simple thing. A small act. And he was skinned by it. "Yes?" "Marcus isn't done," he said. "He won't stop with posts. He'll look for something he can hold over you. Something real. She tilted her head, considering. He'll look for a wound. He'll try to make one if he can't find it. She breathed slowly. Then we give him nothing to cut. She walked to her desk and opened a drawer. Pulled out a file. Handed it to him. This is the night. Not for the press. For us. I had Ava pull camera footage around the block, in case. He hesitated. Why are you giving me this? Because I want you to see I'm not hiding from you. Her voice lowered. Because I meant it when I said I remember. When I choose to keep something, I keep it with care. He opened the file. Frames of rain. The bar entrance. A blur of movement down the alley. His own body, moving into the frame. The men, the way he stepped forward with that old inevitability, force contained until necessary. The moment his fist landed, the second man backing off, Claire pressed against the wall, eyes wide, not of a drunk person but of a person calculating shock, survival, the cost of every breath. He closed the file. You could have used this, he said, to control the narrative. I could have, she said. But then the narrative owns me. I would rather the truth live on my desk than my name live on 1,000 screens. He nodded. Something in him, something that had curled like a fist for years, unclenched. You're brave. I'm tired, she said frankly. Then softer. And I'm trying. The intercom clicked. Ava's voice. Claire, sorry, Rowan wants 5 minutes. Marcus is in his office. Claire's eyes went cold. Security? Already, oh, wait. Ava's tone shifted. False alarm. He's on the phone. Not here. But he's loud. Claire rubbed her temple. Tell Rowan I'll call him in 10. On it. The line went dead. Claire sank into her chair. I hate that he makes my staff nervous. He's noise, Ethan said. Your signal. She laughed, surprised. Did you just flirt with a radio metaphor? Occupational hazard. What occupation exactly? Father, he said, and the word filled the room like music. She nodded, a private smile bending the corner of her mouth. Then, Mr. Miller, may I borrow that signal this afternoon? We're visiting Midtown East. New partners. They'll test our edges. He inclined his head. I'll drive. And you'll sit in the meeting. He blinked. What? Why? Because you listen, she said simply. And because you see what people do when they think they're unseen. He wanted to protest some company policy he hadn't read. He wanted to say yes faster than her sentence ended. He settled for, I'll wear the suit. Good. And, Ethan. Yes. She didn't look at him when she said it. I didn't pretend to forget. Because I can't afford lies. The ones we tell other people. The ones we tell ourselves. I'm done with all of them. The words lit an interior corridor in him he hadn't walked in years. Me too, he said. She looked up then, and the gaze they shared was an agreement, signed without ink. The Midtown East partners wore cufflinks like declarations and laughed too loudly. Their conference room smelled like expensive aftershave and caution. Claire spoke in clean lines. Ethan occupied a chair at the far end, hands folded, invisible as furniture. And yet he wasn't. He watched. He noted. A partner named Dalton, charming to his tie clip, leaned forward when Claire angled the conversation away from a risky clause. But risk is the engine of innovation, he said, teeth flashing. Risk is also the graveyard of it. Claire said, we're not burying millions to prove we're brave. We'll be brave when the data supports it. Dalton's smile thinned. He flicked his gaze to Ethan, an idle, dismissive glance, and then back to Claire. Is he here for moral support? Claire didn't look away from Dalton. He's here because he's useful. Dalton's laugh was pure condescension. In what way? In the way that matters. Claire said, tone silk over steel. He observes. It's a skill undervalued by men who like to hear themselves talk. Ethan kept his face still. Dalton flushed. Someone else coughed to hide a grin. The clause stayed out. After, in the elevator, Claire let her head bump lightly against the mirrored wall. They smelled like ego and tobacco. Also cedar, Ethan offered. Ah, yes, she said. Cedar. The cologne men wear when they want a boardroom to feel like a hunting lodge. He laughed. The sound felt like he'd walked into a room with sunlight. His phone buzzed. Ava. For your information. Marcus tried to schedule a surprise note with Rowan. We intercepted. Also, I found something in the bar footage. I'll show you both back at HQ. Claire read over his shoulder and nodded. Let's go. They were 10 minutes from the office when a black SUV slipped into their lane, close enough to flash a camera through the open window. Ethan swore under his breath and eased into another lane. The SUV followed. 2 more darts of light. Claire's jaw flexed, but she said nothing. He cut down a side street, then another, and slid into the garage beneath the Donovan Tower, with a calm he didn't feel. By the time they reached Ava's desk, the adrenaline had turned to focus. Ava waved them in, eyes electric. Okay, the bar, the alley. We knew about the 2 men. What we didn't know? One of them took a call just before they cornered you. Ethan's spine went rigid. From who? Ava's grin was all teeth. From a number registered to a shell company that pays Marcus Hale's PR firm. Claire sat slowly. He hired them, not hired. Ava corrected. He arranged atmosphere, suggested an approach, offered cash for chaos. She tapped the screen. He can claim deniability, but this is enough to swat him. Ethan's throat burned. Why would he risk? Because he doesn't think it's a risk, Claire said. Calm. Cold. He thinks it's a story, and he believes he writes them. Ava cracked her knuckles. Legal says we have 2 paths. 1, we go nuclear press, police, tattoo it on his forehead. 2, we use it as leverage to make him disappear. Quietly, Claire stared at the screen. A call log, a timestamp, a thin thread that tied a night of rain to a man's arrogance. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, the decision had been made. Quiet, she said. I'm done feeding the Hydra. Ava nodded. I'll have legal draft a letter that says everything, without saying anything. If he breathes near us, we detonate. Ethan's fists had clenched. He forced them to open. That's enough? It has to be, Claire said. For now, he swallowed the protest. That men like Marcus needed the kind of lesson that left a mark they'd feel every time it rained. He swallowed it because he had Lily, because he worked here, because he had watched Claire choose restraint when it would have felt like oxygen to choose fury. Ava gathered her files. I'll go terrify some lawyers with a smile. She paused at the door. Hey, boss. I can. Ava gathered her files. Yes, that museum was a good call. Claire's face softened. It was. A very good call. Ava disappeared. Silence. Dropped comfortable. Newly possible. Claire touched the edge of the desk with 2 fingers, like a pianist finding middle C. Ethan, I know this is complicated. If you want to transfer, if you think this will touch Lily, No, he said sharp. Then softer. No, I don't run, unless it's toward something. She exhaled. Then flustered. Uncharacteristically. I like your daughter. She likes you. She likes my scarf. The daisy is in my kitchen, by the window. Claire's mouth tilted. It looks improbable. I like improbable things. He didn't realize he'd stepped closer until he could smell her perfume, clean with a citrus top note he'd come to associate with mornings that began too early. He lowered his voice. You didn't pretend to forget. No. Her own voice had gone quiet in response. I'm tired of pretending. They stood like that for a heartbeat, the distance full of the things they wouldn't do, the boundary necessary because of who they were and how the world worked. Then she straightened. Come on, let's go decide which building to save today. Yes, ma'am. She winced. Don't ma'am me. Yes, Claire. He tried her name like a new road under his tires. It fit. The weeks that followed didn't untangle cleanly. That isn't how anything real resolves. The press found new flames to feed. Marcus received a letter that arrived at his office like a ghost no drama, just a whisper of consequences. He issued 3 cheery posts about focusing on impact, and was not seen near Claire again. The bar switched its door policy. The alley got a light. Ethan and Claire learned the rhythm of a truce with the world and a tenderness inside it. They did not touch in ways that would undo them. They touched in glances, in small mercies. He brought Lily to the office one late Friday for an empty floor tour. Claire showed her how models of buildings were maps of dreams. Lily drew a fox on a post, and put it under the glass on Claire's desk. For good luck, she'd whispered. Claire couldn't bring herself to move it. They didn't become a scandal. They became 2 people who had seen each other at the edges and decided to remain there, together, facing inward. On a day when it rained the exact same way as that first night, Ethan drove Claire past the block with the bar without meaning to. She watched the blur of neon, then said, half to herself, "I used to think control was the ability to erase what didn't fit. And now?" he asked. "Now I think it's the ability to keep what matters and carry it forward." He glanced at her. "What matters?" She didn't answer with a list. She answered with a look that said this: the car, the rain, the shared memory, the choice not to pretend. He understood. At a red light, she turned and said, lightly, "You never told me. Last Friday, when Lily gave me the flower, what did you think?" He considered lying, softening it into something casual. He chose not to. "I thought, there's a woman my daughter will grow up safe around." Her breath hitched. The light turned green. The street moved. At the end of that day, after a meeting ran long, after decisions were made and postponed and made again, Claire stood in her office and watched the city shake off the rain. Ethan waited by the door, hands in his pockets, posture easy in a way that only came after months of pretending the world weighed nothing. She said, "We never defined this." He said, "I don't think we can." She said, "I don't want to ruin you." He smiled, startled by the tenderness of the word. "You won't." "I might," she said, not as a threat but as an admission of being human in a world allergic to it. He took a step closer. "Then let's not ruin. Let's keep." He searched for the right word, engineer's precision translating to heart. "Let's maintain." Her laugh was soft. "You're going to make romance out of preventive maintenance? Someone has to." She looked up at him, and there it was again, that moment where neither of them pretended. "Then say it." He nodded. "We maintain this. The truth. The boundaries. We choose where the weight goes. And..." He stopped, embarrassed suddenly. "And if you ever need someone to say, 'You're safe now,' I'll be there to mean it." She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them shining. "Okay," she said. "Okay." He drove her home. He watched her disappear into the building. He went back to the car. He checked his phone. A text from Ava. "For your information, the 8th Street arch looks perfect. Also, tell Lily the dinosaur bones are waiting." He smiled. He started the engine. The rain gentled, then stopped. The city didn't wash away its sins, but every once in a while, someone chose to keep something worth saving. And sometimes, if they were careful, if they were brave, that was enough. A Saturday noon, bright as a bell. The Children's Museum front steps vibrated with tiny shoes. Ethan stood with a backpack of snacks and a fox named Lightning peeking out the top. Lily danced from foot to foot, like a song only she heard was playing. Claire approached in jeans and a sweater and a smile that had stopped apologizing for existing. "You promised," Lily said, holding up a hand like a contract. "Dinosaur bones." "I did," Claire said. "I keep things." They went in. Inside the dinosaur hall, Lily whispered the names like spells, Allosaurus, Triceratops, Stegosaurus. She touched the glass where the bones met. They're still here, she breathed. After everything. Claire looked at the arch of ribs, the curve perfectly set, the line identical, because someone stubborn had insisted on the right shape, when it would have been easy to accept the wrong one. She thought, yes, after everything. Ethan slipped his hand onto the railing, close to hers, not touching, not needing to. Lightning would catch its breath later, for now the air hummed. Claire glanced up at him, not pretending, not forgetting, and smiled with a truth she had chosen and would choose again. Come on, she said. Let's go see what else survived.